Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Commissioners of Fulton County salutes the members of SNCC and their families for all that you have done, in the words of Isaiah, to build up the waste places and raise the foundations of many generations, foundations upon which we stand, unbought and unbossed today. God bless you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Now we're going to have greetings from the City of Atlanta. It is my honor to present the Honorable Ivory Lee Young, Jr., District Representative, District 3.
Good morning to our members of the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Council, SNCC, to the presidents of the Atlanta University Center, Dr. Brown. I believe I saw Dr. Tatum. Is Dr. Tatum here? If not, Dr. Tatum Spellman, and certainly Dr. Franklin and Morehouse, to our mayor, the great Kasim Reed. Let's give it up for him. To all of my colleagues on the Atlanta City Council, and to the friends of this community, I bring you greetings from this council district, District 3, as we sit just a few feet away from the blood-stained streets led by Sister Jasmine Lynn just not so long ago on this very street, as we stand not too far from the tragic death of another mother of this community, Miss Catherine Johnston. I could go on and talk about these tragedies, but these tragedies, what they give us is a snapshot that the work is yet to be done. There's still work to do, folks. We certainly applaud the efforts of the past, and for all of those who represents that, we thank you for the reminder as we walk these streets. Those of us that drive down Joseph Boone know of a man that was not just a show horse, was a workhorse. We drive down Joseph Lowry, and we give praise to the Lord. Those of you who know him know what I'm talking about. And we don't just drive down Hunter Street anymore. We drive down Martin Luther King Jr. Drive and Ralph David Abernathy. There's a reason why these streets are renamed, because we can't forget. We ought not forget that right around the corner, within a few feet from here, Dr. W.E.B. Du Bois lived in this very community. Just a few feet from here, you could walk by his house and touch these giants. When the young people walk up and down this street, they should be reminded that there's still work to do. And so admirably led by young people back in the day, they too should take their stand and make their place and answer the call that God has for them. You know, I was raised by a great mother and father. I ate her peach cobbler and sweet potato pie yesterday, my mother. But I really give thanks to a grandmother and grandfather who on one side had indoor plumbing down in Butler, Alabama, and then right down the street on a sharecropper's farm, my daddy's people had outdoor plumbing. And why that's significant is there were people involved in this movement that regardless of their socioeconomic status, they were welcomed. They rolled up their sleeves. Rich and poor came together. If you don't believe me, ask John Lewis where he came from. And then ask those of you that drove through this metropolitan area and grew up here on these very streets, ask where they come from. There were people from all walks of life and all colors that participated in this movement. It is time for rich and poor, young and old, black and white, to continue to do this work and to continue to prevent the tragedies that so often befall us, to prevent them from ever happening again. So to the leadership of my colleague and leader and council historian, Michael Julian Bond, we will follow your lead, and we will continue to support ideals that will keep alive the torch that reminds us daily that we still have work to do. So God bless all of you for your heroism in turbulent times. The times are still turbulent. And thanks to your example, we absolutely know that we still have work to do. God bless you.
Thank you, Councilmember Young. Councilmember Young mentioned a name. He called out the name of Reverend Joe Boone, who gave a haven and a place for the student movement here in the city of Atlanta, right around the corner at Rush Congregational Church. That the same church that my great-grandfather, Reverend James Bond, who my uncle James Bond is named after, pastored at near the turn of the century. But Reverend Boone he opened his doors when no one else would for the students, when they were discouraged by the mainstream. And I want to recognize his wife, Miss Alethea Boone, who's also here. She's back there. But also, as I begin to bring up the mayor, bring up his Commissioner of Constituent Services, the daughter, Andrea L. Boone, who's also a city official. Where is Andrea? We'll give her some recognition. The revolution continues. The things that you all fought for as teenagers and young adults has been manifest in our next speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to present to you a young man who is on fire for public service in this city and really is the fruit of your labor. A generation of children of which I am the benefit, and Kwanzaa and Keisha and those of us about that age are all the benefit, but he has made manifest in it of what your struggle was. Where when you began, you had a mayor, though he did have a come to Jesus moment and decided not to tear down the Peyton Wall. Now you've got a mayor that is the product of your movement, product of your community, product of your family. Someone who started his career at Howard University, though he probably should have rethought that, Dr. Franklin, and started at Morehouse. But we won't hold that against him. Or at Clark Atlanta University. But was recognized even then as a young man, as you all, as young leaders, also had what old folks say, God's got his hand on him. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to bring up now our mayor, the Honorable M. Kasim Reed, the Honorable Mayor of Atlanta, for remarks. Mr. Mayor.
Whew, this is a good morning. You know, sometimes when you are in public office and you do so many hard things, so many things that people feel one way or another about, you really have to pause at moments like this that are so special and unique and profound and just take them in. You know, it was amazing just to sit in that seat as the mayor and sit next to Caesar Mitchell and then see Michael Bond, who I knew, and see Ivory Young, and see Keisha Lance Bottoms, who I knew in high school, and see them all rise as your council, and then have me to get up here and stand up here as mayor and not even give it a second thought how profound that change is. You see, we know because of your generation, we walk with privileges that back in the day my grandmama in Spartanburg, South Carolina would not have dreamed of for me. So today is our day. It is our moment to acknowledge your greatness. Today is our moment to come and tell you thank you. Today is our day just to sit and be grateful and be in awe of you. To hear names like John Lewis and Julian Bond and Nan Orrock and Lonnie King and Charles Black and Charles McDougall and Dr. Doris Derby and Benny Ivy and Constance Curry and Bernard Lafayette and Faye Bellamy and Mary Britting and Willie Ricks and Fran Holloway and Wilson Brown and Joe Boone and Arthur Langford, whose daughter Sarah Langford is here, and on and on and on, and even more than that, all of the names that we're not going to call today that were shoulder to shoulder in the movement. It's appropriate that we stand here in the Atlanta University Center with Dr. Franklin here, and with the president of Clark, Dr. Carlton Brown here, And I want you all to know, for those who have the Howard comments, I'm speaking at Clark Atlanta University for commencement. And I'm attending the commencement of Morehouse College. Today we are grateful to you. My favorite quote from Dr. King is simple and plain, and Ambassador Andrew Young and I talk about it all the time. It says simply this: in the future, there will be born a generation with new privileges and new responsibilities. I want that generation to know that these new privileges and new responsibilities and new opportunities did not come without somebody suffering and sacrificing for them. The members of SNCC made the way. They made the possibilities. You're right, Brother Africa. Amen. They made the possibilities. And today I stand here as a grateful mayor of a grateful city, wanting you to know that we will remember your work. All of us will remember your work beyond all of the tomorrows. Thank you. Godspeed.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And now we will hear from the Honorable President of Clark Atlanta University, Mr. Carlton E. Brown, who is leading this university in the spirit not only of Mr. Brawley, but also Dr. Clement, who was very instrumental in guiding the students in the civil rights movement. Dr. Brown.
Thank you very much. I am pleased to be here. I was thinking for a moment that maybe Mr. Bond forgot where he was actually standing when he mentioned about Morehouse, but that's all right. If he goes to Morehouse, he's also going to Clark Atlanta University. It is one great place. To the Honorable Kasim Reed, our mayor, and I am looking forward to his remarks in just a few short days, because our intention was to present such a product of the work, the young lion stepping forward at this point in his career to our students as an aspirational point. And so I'm looking forward to that. To Councilman Bond and to all of the other members of council, both past and present, and especially to the great living legends that are here today, those who had the insight, the courage, the fortitude, and the faith to step forward at the most difficult of times to say that we will play a role. Especially to them, we owe a great deal of honor and esteem. And to all of our friends and guests, so I have the high honor of hosting you here this morning on this historic campus. And the councilman is right. President Clement was of great aid to the students during that time period in the movement, and myself and a colleague are actually doing some work on his long presidency, because we think that there's a great deal to be learned and taught from that presidency and all of the fine lines and difficult paths that he walked that were part of helping this great effort take place. History records and recounts the incredible stories of this great nation, and of course, with the contributions of African Americans, too often omitted, the onus of preserving our place in these annals of history has historically been our burden, and at times such as this, most assuredly our privilege. So only 50 years ago, as the Atlanta student movement formed on this campus, a group of young students also were busily going about the work of establishing the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee. Of course, the aims of the two groups, to many, were indistinguishable. It was a confluence of thought and ideas whose time had come, and the movement went forward. Nonetheless, we gather here this morning to celebrate this paradigm-shifting, chain-breaking change brought about by SNCC's undaunted, relentless efforts. Of course, we will never allow America to forget the work of SNCC, lunch counter sit-ins, freedom rides, voter registration. But our charge today is no less critical than the work conducted from this very site many years ago. Because while our fear then was death at the hands of whites who did not want the rise of African Americans, our fear now is death at our own hands for spurious reasons, a failure of newfound freedoms. And so the work is as yet undone. And during that time, we learned not only to oppose unjust laws, we learned how to assist people to use their own power and will to address long-standing issues of struggle. SNCC was based on the dignity and intelligence of those who were oppressed, combined with the fervor and the bravery of youth, with a new vision of what the world could be about. So our charge, ladies and gentlemen, is to make certain that future generations following in these footprints of SNCC always remember. Our charge is to ensure that the march across Raymond and Mitchell Street, soon to be SNCC Way, becomes a march into positions of moral, inspired, and spirited leadership. As the speaker said before, not for personal aggrandizement, but for the benefit of the community, for the elevation of all. That is the true purpose of education. Those who formed SNCC understood it then. We must come to understand it now. The Clark Atlanta University community is indeed proud that this historic landmark will forever be a part of our community's landscape. But more importantly, we commit to you this morning that as long as our students cross this path, we will continue to tell the stories, to try to challenge and inspire, that the work begun here by SNCC, still unfinished even now, will continue, hopefully with that same brand of courage, that same eye toward freedom, that same respect for people, and that same dignity and strength. I'm very pleased to be here with you this morning. Thank you.
I shall not be moved. I shall not be moved. Just like a tree that's planted by the water.